We could do a whole psychological analysis of Batman and Joker. Batman and Joker have the same narrative. The same narrative. Batman, he grew up, silver spoon in his mouth, both his parents were murdered. He's an orphan. Joker, they painted him now that, he's growing up with an abusive mother, abusive stepfather, tied to the radiator, beaten with a hanger, beaten with this, abused, right? Same path, same traumatizing path. One is trauma, the other one is trauma. However, what separates Batman from the Joker is the path that they chose to deal with their pain. Batman chose to become a vigilante and go after people who were less fortunate, who couldn't defend themselves or protect themselves. And that was his way of dealing with his trauma. My parents were robbed and murdered in the course of a robbery. And so I'm going to become a vigilante in my life to help those who cannot help themselves. That's my way of dealing with my trauma. Joker, on the other hand, becomes a menace to society. People have done this to me throughout my entire life. If you look at the Joker movie, he plays this victim where, he's harassed, he's working as a clown, and, his co-workers don't like him. Girls don't, his next door neighbor, the girl didn't like him. Everybody's, and this is the classic young white kid who goes up to a school and murders, 20 people at a school. The same mentality. Never taking responsibility for yourself. Never taking responsibility for your own actions. It's always somebody else's fault. And so in creating the Joker movie, I'm talking about the first one, they have now painted him as the victim. And everybody likes to sympathize with the victim. Meanwhile, we look at Batman and the way that he, turned himself into this professional, entity. Professional entity. He's the most hated. We hate the person that takes accountability for himself, pulls himself up by his bootstraps, and begin to live life on life's terms, despite the trauma that he went through. And we sympathize with the victim who, oh, woe is him, has never had a break, right? Never had an opportunity. Meanwhile, he sabotaged every single opportunity that has come his way. You follow me? We love to sympathize with the victim, and we love to hate on the person who has pulled himself up by his bootstraps and has managed to take responsibility for his life. That is the difference between the Joker and Batman. Their lives, the same trauma, it's just they took different paths to deal with their trauma. One chose to wallow in his pain and then wreak havoc on the entire world, hurt people. And then the other one decided that I don't want to see other people hurt because of the hurt that I experienced. Does that make sense? And that narrative plays out over and over and over again in our lives. There are some of us who went through traumatic experiences in our lives. We've learned how to navigate through those traumatic experiences. We haven't gotten over them. We've just learned how to navigate. Those emotions are still there. The pain is still there. The vulnerability is still there. All of that is still there. We've just learned how to master navigating despite the fact that we have these lingering issues in our lives. We make conscious decisions and choices not to respond to those triggers, not to respond to, those emotions when they come up. And then there are those of us who wallow in the pain, inflicting pain on everybody around us because we're in pain, and we choose to refuse to deal with the pain. The Joker never got treatment, never sought treatment, never wanted to heal from the pain. He used the pain to justify his behavior. This is the classic drug dealer selling drugs to everybody in your neighborhood, shooting people, harming people. And then when you stand in front of a judge, You say, oh, well, I wasn't raised with my father. My mother was on drugs, and you got the same sob story. And you believe that that's supposed to garner you some mercy from the judge. Same classic case. Same case.